Broncos country, Maha salute. What is going on? We have wrapped up the preseason. It is done, and we are on to week one versus the Seattle Seahawks. And guys, I think the Denver Broncos have a problem, have a genuine problem, but I think it's a really, really good problem to have. And we'll break that down and break down exactly what it is that means. Before, guys, if you love Denver sports, if you love fantasy football, check some of my other videos. If it's your first time watching, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like the video whenever you get a chance. It would really help the channel out as I'm trying to grow this thing. Much appreciated. So, guys, let's get into it. I think the Broncos right now have a pretty serious problem that we haven't had in several years, which is a really good thing because it's been a really shitty several years, to say the least, here in Broncos country. And I think that when I made the videos about ESPN ranking our roster as like 32nd ranked and PFF ranking our roster low on the league and blah blah blah, I tried to tell everybody, guys, this is a team that's young, that has a lot of talent. It's just not a lot of people in the national media really know about them. And I think that a lot of that's going to come to fruition because we've got a lot of guys at positions that we're probably going to have to cut or potentially lose and not be able to get back on the practice squad, just because there's not room for them on the team, right? You only have 53 players that you can take. And it's kind of worrisome. And we'll break it down positionally in terms of some different guys. So firstly, I think it's my guy, Brandon Johnson. For you guys that know me, if you've seen some of my other videos, I love this dude. I just think he's a baller. I think every time he gets the opportunity to play, he balls. Today, he looked great. He had 2 catches, a long 41-yard touchdown. Every time the ball is getting thrown his way, he's making plays. Now, some of you guys are going to come at me and say, well, he was against, Arizona Cardinals, third and fourth stringers. Yeah, it's true. And we also got our third and fourth stringers out there. But the thing about Brandon Johnson is he's shown that he can play and play well against the starters. People forget at the beginning of last year before he got hurt, he was one of the main guys. He was getting a lot of catches. He was making plays against starting caliber teams. So his 2 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown is just that's kind of normal stuff there. Not anything that we're overly worried about. And so he's somebody that it doesn't make sense how we keep him. And this is one of those things, guys, when I was a little bit concerned about. When I was trying to tell everybody like Broncos should look to make trades with whether it be with Patrick or Cortland Sutton in the receiver room because I think that you're hampering the potential growth and you might even lose out on some of these really talented players, right? I mean, Michael Bandy was making plays. David Sills, from what I hear in training camp, has been making plays. But Brandon Johnson's been making plays for a long time. And, because you drafted Troy Franklin, you're going to keep him. You're going to end up missing out on all of these guys potentially. I don't think Brandon Johnson is somebody that you can cut and will make it to the practice squad. I think he has a chance of getting picked up elsewhere because he's a baller. And Michael Bandy too, especially with Michael Bandy's, the fact that he's a little bit more of a specialized player. He's a slot receiver. He can play teams. He might not be somebody that you could retain too, but then again, you don't know because it is a really loaded. It's loaded at receiver everywhere. But it's unfortunate because I think that if it came a situation where the Broncos needed to replace they had a couple injuries and they needed to bring in a receiver. Right now it's going to be like Vele and Franklin, which these guys never played a snap of actual NFL football. And so there's a lot more risk there. Whereas you could plug in Brandon Johnson and you would be confident as to what it is that you would get. Um, but before we get into the rest of the players, guys, I do want to recap this game. It was a fun game. Listen, guys. I left the BMW Championship. I was at the BMW Championship today. I left early so I could catch this Broncos game. That's the kind of Broncos nut that I am. No starters were playing. It's the last preseason game, but there was a lot of things that I wanted to see. And shout out to Zach Wilson. He looked great. Not surprised. He should look great against some threes. And I think without a doubt, we're keeping 3 quarterbacks. So overall, it was a good game. And what I really like about this team this year is not only does it seem like these players really do like each other. I mean, that they get along and there's a really good culture. But every single player on this roster at every position is just playing their ass off. They're playing through the whistle. They're physical. They're trying to rip the ball out. It's just really fun, and I feel like it's translating to all these guys top down. And I think that's the mark of a really good coaching staff. You've got guys that are just playing discipline football, and Yeah, we went 3-0 in the preseason, whatever, all that doesn't matter, but we dominated, uh, from our starters dominated, our backups dominated, and our 3rd, 4th, 5th string guys, they all dominated, and that really, to me, shows that your depth stacked up against the other team in the NFL's depth is really good. It wasn't like that in the past. Guys, you cannot forget people, in the Hackett years specifically, even before that, we would get blown out in some preseason games. You'd be like, who cares? It's preseason. And it's like, you're right. But then you see how the season went, and you're like, oh, we have no depth. That kind of showed in the preseason compared to other teams. Um, and so, shout out to the team, man. It's always tough when you're gonna go through a lot of these cuts and all that kind of crap. So that's gonna suck, but we'll see how it ends up playing out. I did drop my 53 man roster prediction, and I think I might have to make some changes now overall because I want my boy Brandon Johnson on there, but I'm gonna stick with what I got. So we'll see. You know, Other guys. Another thing that was telling about today's game, guys, is a lot of the players that didn't play or didn't play a lot. Right, I expected to see more Troy Franklin when I was kind of listening to the game and tracking it. I was like, oh man, is there a chance that Troy Franklin that can actually be cut? Well, he just played really limited snaps. The coaching staff wanted to see a lot more of, Virgil and Camp Moyer and Philip Dorsett, Michael Bandy, David Sills, Brandon Johnson, those kinds of guys. And so that's really telling that Troy Frank is Troy Frank is going to make this team. Another guy that did not play at all was Samaje Perine, and that to me was not surprising because there's one of two ways that this is going to go, and I think it's going to be the latter over the the what is it, the former, I guess. Number one is that they know he's the third down back. He's the best third down back we have on this team. They can trust him in pass pro. They can trust him in the passing game, and so he's going to make it. Or they know this is not somebody that's going to make the team. They have a trustworthy guy that can be the third down back on this team that feels like they can fit this role and that can also contribute on special teams. And they're going to look to trade him. And that is trade candidate number one of the ones that I'll be bringing up. Samaje P. Ryan, listen, guys, he's actually a really solid player. He's a vet. He's a good runner between the tackles. He's a good pass catcher. He's good in pass pro. He's the kind of running back that a lot of teams would like to have on their team, and they feel like they can make him better. And so I think we'll find a suitor for him. I really feel confident that he's somebody that we can potentially trade. Um, if not, I think we do cut him. We saved $3 million by cutting him, which is not insignificant, but it's not very significant. It's a solid amount of money. It could probably be used elsewhere, and ideally, we'd be able to get some sort of a pick in return, right? 6th round pick, 7th round pick swaps, whatever it might be. It's better than nothing, and I expect for that to happen. One of these receivers on this team could potentially get traded. Now, receiver is always tricky because, like I said earlier, receiver is one of those things where there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of guys around the league that teams want to kind of develop and keep on their practice squad. And so, you might not be able to trade somebody like a Brandon Johnson, but who knows? There might be a team out there with a coach in the past that's played with Brandon Johnson or scouts that know about him. They're like, guys, this dude makes plays. Why risk not being able to sign him? Let's see if he can make a trade for Denver. We're also really deep along the defensive line now, which is an awesome problem to have too, right? Somebody like a Jordan Jackson who was playing out of his freaking mind today. He's a really good player. He's a vet guy. He's somebody that's good against the pass, good in the run game. A really, really solid just depth piece on this D line. I personally would hate to get rid of him, but hey, if a team comes calling and they're asking, what do you want for Jordan Jackson? 2 sacks today and limited action. Um, you know, that could be something that could happen. Ain't no doubt about it. Especially, because they got Ioma Uzurike. They got Angelo Blackson in the mix there too, who's another vet that can make plays. So we've got a lot of guys, and you can't keep them all, right? You just can't. There's no way around it, unfortunately. And it's like I said, guys. I think it's a really good overall problem to have, but it stinks because if you don't make the right decisions, or if you don't calculate the market properly, you can miss out on a lot of really good guys. Um, and you can't just rely on, oh, hey, like for example, Keydron Smith, guy seems to always be making plays. let's say you tell Kedron, hey, listen, man, we're gonna cut you. Obviously, we can't keep everybody, but without a doubt, we're gonna bring you on the practice squad. Who's to know that he wants that? Maybe he wants to go to another team, and because he feels like he has a better opportunity to get on the field, even if it's on the practice squad. So those kinds of things happen too when you're deep. It happens at receiver, right? Why would Brandon Johnson want to come to Denver if he feels like, man, there's two or three other quality receivers on that practice squad? I might have a better opportunity somewhere else where I'm one injury away from getting on the field. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on. I thought there was a lot. I thought Quentin Newsom made some really good plays today. Um, I thought JL Skinner looked good. Lavelle Bailey, man, that guy was balling. Pick six, 94 yards. The house, and he's somebody that apparently has been making plays. He has been making plays in preseason. He's been making plays throughout camp too in practice. So there's a lot of guys that are really good that have a lot of upside and that are really promising that could potentially not make this team, and that's frustrating. Um, one newsworthy note here is uh, kind of good and bad news. Second play of the game, Damari Mathis went down with an ankle injury. Looks like he got rolled up on. It was scary at first. Cart came out, but you guys have to remember carts aren't as scary as they used to be because they kind of cart everybody off now. But good news is X-rays were negative. Sean Payton says he doesn't. It doesn't appear to be anything that's very significant. So that tells me it's just a basic ankle sprain. With 2 weeks, he could be ready for the regular season. And I'm excited to see who the hell is going to start. Right? Um, Levi Wallace got out a little bit and played a bit, but there's a lot of really young guys on this team that are unfortunately not going to make the 53. And I just hope that we're able to get a lot of these guys through to the practice squad so we can continue developing. And, can they get swooped off practice squad or taken later in the season? I mean, sure. But we'll deal with that when we deal with that, when the time comes. But I would love to be able to keep everybody. But guys, it's a really good problem. It's a great problem to have. It's a problem we haven't had in a long time. And it's another proof that I feel like we've got a much deeper roster than people really give us credit for overall. And I'm extremely excited to see how it ends up working out. Guys, if you haven't already checked it out, I got my 53-man roster prediction. Check the video out. I'll put the video link below, and also put the link to the article on the site as well. And let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to get cut that you don't want to see get cut, or might surprise some people in terms of who's making this team? I'd love to know what it is that you guys think. And another one, another guy I just thought of too, Nate Atkins, right? Nate Atkins is, man, he's one of those guys that, it's funny because he's never going to light up the stat sheet. He's not really going to ever be talked about, but he's just one of those players that NFL teams, all 32 of them, love having somebody like him. He can play fullback. He can play blocking tight end. He can be a receiving tight end. He can play all three phases of special teams. There's a lot of value there. And he might be somebody that made, clawed his way onto the team last year with the Alberto Cuebanam trade. And, might get cut this year. If I'm making a guess, guys, I think the Broncos engage in a lot of trade talks. And I would not be surprised if you saw 2 or 3 Broncos trades, whether it involved current players that we have leaving or maybe us trading for somebody in some other positions. But I think us trading players is a lot more of a realistic possibility. So curious to see what you guys think, man. Let me know in the comments. Until next time, guys, go Broncos. Let's rock out. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming, a lot of exciting news that I can't wait to share with you. And man, we are exactly 2 weeks away. In exactly 2 weeks to the hour, we'll either be crying or laughing together, breaking down the Broncos versus Seahawks in Seattle. We'll have some predictions. We'll have some overviews, some things to look for, keys to the games, all that good stuff. Until then, guys, Maha salute. Take care of yourselves. Spend time with the people that you love the most. And until next time, peace